Melaine Rickard. I'm in the Civil Warehouse talking to you today about the Organize the Elements lesson. It's a 2-class period lesson. It's really designed to be as an introductory inquiry experience about the periodic table. It focuses on how the table is organized and the patterns within that table. As a teacher, I use it as my very first piece of instruction about the periodic table. I've not said anything about it. I also take down my classroom periodic table when I do this lesson. To start the lesson, and you have all of these instructions really detailed for you in your teacher's guide. To start the lesson, you're going to share a brief story about Dmitri Mendeleev and how he was working with 34 elements and realized that there were some patterns among those elements, and he formed them into a table. So you're going to challenge your students to think like Mendeleev. They're going to have 34 element cards with information about the cards on them. Each group of 2 to 3 students will get a set of these cards, and their challenge is going to be to look at these cards, sort them into groups based on characteristics. This will be tough for some kids because you're not telling them what the groups are, you're not telling them where to start. Let them struggle a little bit, and then you can prompt them with supporting questions like what things do you notice in common. Anyway, let them sort. There's no right answer. Just make sure they can tell you why they sorted them as they did. A lot of kids will default to solids, liquids, and gases. That's okay. Once kids get their groups, challenge them to come up with subgroups within their larger groups and be able to say why they grouped them as they did. I also challenge kids that no card can fit into more than one group. So that's really day 1. There's a lot of instructions in your teacher's guide on how to wrap up day 1. Just a hint, if you have kids that don't finish, have them take a picture of it to use the next day. Once kids do have their groups, I have them make a little graphic organizer or chart in their notebook. It's nothing fancy, but I have them tell me their group, the name of their group, the characteristics that they use to sort, and the elements that fall within that group. Once they have that information and you've talked about what they've noticed, you're ready to move on to part 2. So in part 2, you give them a bit more information about Mendeleev's table. You give them a modified version of the table. They take their 34 cards and they lay them out in this fashion, noting that there are holes. Once they've done that, then you give them this pack of newly discovered elements, and their challenge is to fit them into the table in the right spot based on the properties of the elements that they know about and the properties of these elements. So at that point, they're applying what they know about the patterns of the table. You're reinforcing chemical and physical properties, and they are learning how to use a very powerful tool in chemistry. You've got great instructions in your teacher's guide about how to wrap all this up, and you're also in a great place to start some direct instruction on the patterns that are in the table, what all that information means, and most importantly as a student, how you can use it.